Deputy Healy-Rae, Deputy Danny Healy-Rae.
Thank you very much, Councillor Taoiseach. Following the passage of the Road Traffic Bill, which was signed into law a number of weeks ago, I'm asking now, where is the extra local link bus services that were promised during the passage of the bill? Minister Ross succeeded in getting Fine Gael to support this bill in return for his support for your government. Sinn Féin were readily on hand to give their support, and indeed Fianna Fáil leadership thought it was best to do the same as Sinn Féin done. And finally what happened was 75 deputies voted for the bill, 75 abstained, and 8 of us voted against, with just myself and Michael voting against, out of the 5 deputies in Kerry, voting against Minister Ross's bill. During last summer, Minister Ross and Minister Griffin and Deputy Hayden announced some small amount of local link services aid for Kerry. That is not enough, Taoiseach, for all of Kerry. People of the Black Valley and places like that are very remote, around Carsaveen, Waterville, Glencairn, Beaufort. These places are very remote and very far away from anywhere, Taoiseach, and we need more transport services. Likewise, East Kerry, Guinea, Willis, Scotland Lane, Curra, will you provide more bus transport in these areas? It's a different story up here in Dublin, where we have all different types of transport, or indeed the greater urban areas around the country, a different story to places like Kerry. The social fabric of rural Ireland has been blown to smithereens. People who need a car to get from A to B can't even have 1 point. And I want to know, Taoiseach, is it yourself, the Minister for Justice, or Minister for Ross, is ordering all the checkpoints? People are checked going to Mass, they're checked coming from Mass. And I'm not blaming the Gardaí, or indeed I'm not blaming individual superintendents, because it's across different divisions, it's across county boundaries. And is it a way that he wants to close the churches now as well as the post offices? Mostly everything else closed, I suppose he wants to close the churches as well in rural Ireland. Many people are very angry and upset what has happened. They feel they are let down, that they can't move, they're isolated, bars are empty, more are closing like wildfire, shops and restaurants beside them are closing also. For many, 2 points was their only social outlet to talk about farming, work, football, or to inquire about the health of neighbours or relatives that live maybe far away from them. The only usual conversation and the culture of the rural people is being blown to smithereens, and it was at your behest trying to satisfy Minister Ross.
Thank you. Taoiseach.
Very much, Deputy. I think we shouldn't forget that the purpose of the Road Traffic Bill, now the Road Traffic Act, was to save lives. It used to be the case in this country that 600 or 700 people every day, or every year rather, would die on our roads. That figure now is between 1 and 200, but that's still between 1 and 200 too many. And you and I have met the families of people who have been killed on the roads, and you know how that hurts a whole family, and how a whole family grieves for the person lost on the road or killed on the road. And particularly again at this time of year, it's that empty space around the dinner table that people are thinking about. And that's the purpose of our road traffic legislation. It's not to discommode people, it's not to make their lives difficult to lead, it's to make our roads safer. And when it comes to rural Ireland, that is where the roads are still least safe, for lots of different reasons. That is where most of the road deaths are occurring, not in urban areas, which are now much safer. In terms of the extra bus services, this was something very much pressed forward by Deputy Hayden and some others in cooperation with Minister Ross, and a call was made for funding, and people made bids for funding, and some counties bid for more, other counties bid for less, but those new services are now in place around the country. It's never going to be possible to provide a service from house to door or from house to village or house to pub, or what people would be able to have if they were able to use their car. But it is possible to provide better bus services, and that was done based on a competitive call, and different amounts went to different counties. And I've no doubt that there will be a further call for funding into the future. I should say that I am actually glad to hear that there's an increase in Garda checkpoints and that you're noticing them around the country. Let's not forget why we have Garda checkpoints. It's about checking for people who may have alcohol or drugs on board, who might injure or kill another citizen. It's about checking that people are taxed and insured. It's about intercepting and disrupting networks of burglars who are travelling around the country, breaking into people's homes, taking their possessions, and sometimes doing real harm to them as well. And it's about disrupting anyone involved in a criminal enterprise. And it's good that we have more Garda checkpoints, and that's a reflection of the fact that just last week the strength of An Garda Síochána exceeded 14,000 for the first time since 2012. Since we reopened Templemore, started recruiting Gardaí again, we now have the force back up above 14,000. And I think people will see that on the roads and in the streets with a much more visible Garda presence, which will make people feel safer.
Thank you, Taoiseach. Deputy Healy-Rae.
Yes, Taoiseach, gladly yes, road deaths have gone down, and that's due to a myriad of other things like speed cameras and better roads. But still, we will continue to have road deaths with the state of other roads and with trees hanging out over roads and falling down on people. People are being killed cycling, walking, because our roads are inadequate for pedestrians late at night, and people are being killed on motor bicycles. But I'm asking you still, Taoiseach, to provide the services that he promised, because it was no trouble at all. It was going to be no bother to provide all these local link services, but they have not been added to. Indeed, the ones that were promised are not even being delivered. And that is the truth, Taoiseach. So the purpose of this leader's question is to see what are we going to do to help the people in rural Ireland to get around, because they haven't the trains, the taxis or the DATs that he have up here. And you see, there can be no checkpoints out here on the roads out here around, because if a guard stood there for 5 minutes, there'd be a tailback of 5 miles. So it's very easy to carry out a checkpoint at a local crossroads, going to Mass on a Sunday morning, but I don't know what the purpose of that is, or who's ordered it. Is it yourself, the Minister for Justice, or Minister Ross? Answers, because it is happening across 3 county boundaries and in different superintendent divisions, so it's coming from the top. And answered it.
Thank you, Deputy. Taoiseach.
Deputy, I can assure you that there are Garda checkpoints happening all over the country. I went through one on the Quays, on the South Quays, just outside the Guinness Brewery the other day, and I think if there's anywhere where you could cause a tailback, it's on a busy road like that. But yet, those areas have checkpoints too, and for very good reason. Neither I, nor Minister Flanagan, nor Minister Ross orders that checkpoints take place. Those are decisions for the Garda Commissioner, or for the superintendents and inspectors in their particular areas. But I'm not going to apologise for the fact that Garda checkpoints are happening around the country. The vast majority of law-abiding citizens in our country want to see a more visible Garda presence. They want to see Gardaí walking the streets in their communities, on bicycles, on foot, and they want to see Garda checkpoints, because that's how you disrupt crime. And particularly when we're trying to crack down on the scourge of burglaries in rural Ireland, we need a more active Garda presence on our roads, disrupting those people who would go into rural Ireland, go into people's homes, take their possessions and do them harm.